Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode from Hopeful Labs. Today we're going to be continuing on with the discussion in regards to Dagger and some of the defenses that we will see in regards to Fiore's work. Before we get into that, however, I want to take a moment here and to digest a little bit beyond about how Fiore specifically tells us like what should be in the mindset when it comes down to the Dagger as far as what he has in the section. And what he writes right here, and again, once again, I'm using the Getty translation that I typically utilize for the reading of this. When faced with a man's dangerous knife, which all fear, immediately go against it with your arms, hands, and elbows. Always do these 5 things. Take his dagger away, strike him, break his arms, bind him, and throw him to the ground. None of these 5 plays goes without the other. And if you know how to defend, you will keep your body safe. So that kind of sets the tone a little bit here in regards to you have a methodology here. So it's not just doing a technique. It is you do a technique and then you are going to go into follow-on considerations, which in my opinion it's pretty clear that he would have had this in the Abrazare section, and he had already told you what effective strikes are, as in the eyeballs, the throat, the groin, parts of the arm, how to do certain things here. So all of that right there are the striking areas that you have. And again, that's to put the mindset about what he's saying here, because again, this is not just covering and we're just trying to get away from it. It's like you now have to assault into someone that is assaulting you. And for the purpose of the Rondel Dagger, which is a pretty terrifying tool of war, it's very easy to see that you want to get certain spaces in that. And we're going to talk about that here today. So anyway, with that being the case here, let's get into it. So I have Vincent rigged up here to hold a dagger in the right side where he has the X, that the ice pick grip as we call it. And essentially this is simulating that either fendente or Mazzani type of a blow that we've talked about before. So he is striking, this is a person that's striking to the top of my head, into my neck area, or anywhere from the elbow up into, so elbow up to the temple is essentially where this person is trying to strike here. So the big thing that comes down to this, when it comes down to any of Fiore's dagger positions, and it's not said in the manual. However, with experimentation and lines and whatever, and when we look at wide play, narrow play, etc., I really get the sense that a lot of these right here are dependent upon certain considerations and situations in order to enter in on somebody. Because this is somebody that is essentially coming across in some type of arcing manner, we have to consider that this knife is more turned inward, like this, right? So this arm is coming down 2 or 3. It's not just a vertical, but it's coming in, it's hooking. The reason why I say that is because if I get stopped, the knife is still towards the center line area, and there's other things that you can do here. That's why dagger shots are not just, I come in here and I stop, I pull back. It might be come here and then turn right up off of somebody's covering arm. So because of that, we have to understand that this is, from what he has within the picture, it is someone coming in with a serious strike to those areas I described earlier, and we are going to intercept it, okay? Now, I think that this can be done either with Largo or Stretta type step work, and again, for my definition of that right there is, it is ultimately whether you're going wide on something or whether you're shooting in a straighter fashion. However, in this case right here, for first master type of covers, I get the sense that you are going straighter at the person. You're binding on the arms immediately. So to validate that, part of the reason why I believe that is, if I go wide, my arm loses a lot of structure and this can collapse into me. And ultimately, we're trying to get it in a space where the arm has not come down into that terminus area where it is strong into a strike. Okay. So with that, I believe the step that we are doing here is taking much more of a you're going into this. And you can already tell here the dagger, I'm going to roll my sleeve here, the dagger is over my forearms. This is a very important piece of this. And this is all first master dagger. So first master, from what I'm seeing right here, is just this right here. It is your arm on the inside of their forearm right here where the knife would be coming down. We're coming into here, and we're going to have lots of plays and things to do off of this section. Okay. Dagger, just like the rest of Abrazari, is just taking the concepts of the different posta, and now he's trying to put things a little bit differently here to make different shapes that once again allow us to have different effects on somebody. So at this point right here, what I'm utilizing is that a crest, this could be a pass, whatever. I'm coming in and I'm using posta longa. So for this right here, it is much more this. I am not necessarily coming across. Again, this is very weak. That's a lot on the arm. I want to bisect the arm as fast as possible. Like he says, stop with the forearms, the hands, whatever you can get there. There are several interpretations out there when it comes down to this, that people think that he's grabbing up like this. I don't believe that to be the case. I think that that's what you're moving to. And the reason why I say that is because if I stop here, if this is a stronger guy, he's just now locked me into positions. Right? This is very easy for him to for them to get me into. So instead of going here and stopping it with my thumb, maybe, I'm using my forearm and then working to that grip. So that's the first thing about first master dagger. Covering of it and then grabbing the wrist. Covering it and then grabbing the wrist. Covering and grabbing the wrist. And that's just using a crest in to grab. Right? And whether this thumb goes over top here, I don't think the maestro cares. I mean, ideally you want to have a better grip on your assailant's wrist. But the likelihood that you're going to achieve that it depends on how bad the situation is. The important thing here is to first and foremost stop and then get the grab. Create that space using the arms. If we look at the picture of posta longa, creating the space and then getting to the arm here where you can seize it. Right? By doing this, it's one of the things nice about this. The first play that we really see here is coming up with the cover here and grabbing, and then you start to see him turning this down. And the hand is up. Now this is a very important thing to me because ultimately, remember, it says to strike him. And we already have a whole list of things that Fiore has told us are good to strike on somebody. Inside the jaws, eyes, nose, throat, etc. Arms, whatever the case may be, right? And this type of covering mechanism for this first master, by me coming like this is weak. I want to come over here. I want to get this in as fast as I can, grab the wrist, and now I have a secure grab. The question then comes down to this. Is this hand up because they are about to strike, or they have just retracted from a strike? And what I mean is this. Is it possible that when we do this, I come right here, I'm grabbing the hand, and then coming up? Or is it, I'm here, strike, and I'm back in this way? It's all one motion. So you're once again going posta longa, bringing this down to your Porta de Ferro area, striking across, and bringing it right back. Now, why might we want to do that? Like I said within the Abrazari about softening blows and being able to change people's body trajectories, part of the things that do that are strikes, and effective strikes. Remember, he says to know effective strikes. And by coming in here, twisting the wrist, he might be muscling me on this right here. There may be a tag, whatever the case may be. Strike him. Now I can really bring it down. Okay? So just coming in here. So no matter what the play is in First Master Dagger, at least what I teach and what I think is happening here, because it sets the pace and the tone, is that essentially I seize this wrist, I wrench it down, I turn, I'm striking them. Remember, I'm using a fist right now, but this might be an eye gouge, this might be grabbing the hair, this might be, I might have slapped him, caught back here. We don't know, but to know the effective strike that you're doing. Because I want this arm, I want to be able to take this and do certain things. Okay. So a couple things about this. After much deliberation and consideration about he says that if I do this right here, I'm going to bring it down, I'm going to take you the knife out of your hand, right? Well, that right there is a lot of torquing over. And if I just struck your face, it's even more so. I don't know if this is the same thing that you see in some of the German texts. When it comes down to coming here, and then you hook up and out, and the arm and the dagger is disarmed. Kind of hard to demonstrate with this right here. Unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. What I think he is saying here, because remember, Fiore's methodology is to get to a spot where you're striking the person and bringing it down. So this, by coming down this way, across, where I brought this down, the dagger down, maybe I've struck the face here, maybe I've struck his arm. We don't know. This arm that we see up there in the image, it's ambiguous. Like, we have no idea where he's telling us to hit. And I think that's kind of the point. Hit him. Hit him whatever you got to do here. So if I turn this down, I have the hand up this way, hit him in the eyes, break the arm. Whatever you're doing here, follow the sequence of actions that Fiore has told us to take. Okay? So that's the very, 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 very first part about this. Again, looking at this dagger attack. Now, remember, this is not a modern-day self-defense course or a modern-day self-defense application right here. There are different ones out there, and I encourage people to go out there. This is an observation about how this combat tool of the time may or may not have been utilized against certain things to have, how do we have to deal with this thing, which is much longer than some of the knives that you'll see out there today. Again, not a self-defense course, an observation in history, okay? So once again, if we're talking about this right here, this is very similar to what we've done in Abrazari, where we come over using posta longa, and then how we return and retract into different positions. This time, instead of utilizing passare, we are just going to go across, bringing this down into Porte Ferro. So I've come across here, find my hand this way, and start bringing it down, really wrenching it down, right? So you are getting the person to come down with the structure. And like the image shows, my hand's up. But to me, I think that is just a drawn representation that as soon as this knife comes in, you are taking action as fast as you can. So cover in, down, pop, 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 pop. And you are doing everything you can to make them drop the dagger, okay? So that's just my first interpretation about what this is. And again, please understand, if you are training this at home or doing this on your own or everything here, make sure that when you're working with somebody, please don't actually hit the person like this. This is very effective and is a great way to make this a lot worse, okay? That's just what I got here for the first step in dagger defense. So that concludes this first introduction as far as looking at first master dagger and what it may be and what it may not be. I don't know. I can only say that by looking at some of these things right here as far as the context of the manuscript and also the layout of all the things that Fiore tells us to do, that ideally what we are doing here is we are working towards the 5 things in which he tells us to do. And once again, to remind people of what that is, remember, and he has great pictures of it too, is to take his dagger away, strike him, break his arms, bind him, and throw him to the ground. Okay, so when we look at this first play of First Master Dagger, in my opinion, what we are starting to see here is we are seeing the thing that is constant. Okay, so that is a constant thing when it comes throughout First Master Dagger. So this is just the entry of being able to do other things that we'll see and discuss later on. So I hope that explains things as far as what I mean by there. When I say when I say this is a constant, it means that no matter what happens through any of the other plays within First Master, we are constantly going to strike in there, cover the space, hit them some way, soften them so that we can get into deeper targets. A quick comment about that too. I know that there's been some people out there, I've seen these videos out there, and I'm not trying to stir any problems up here, please. I've heard other people talk about how, well, Fiore does not have any strikes shown in his manuscript, so why are we talking about strikes? I disagree. I think that actually, these are moments in time. We have to forgive the artist and the maestro for the period of time here, because it's the technology of the time here. So anytime that we see our hands in space right here, I envision in most cases that you are utilizing one of the four original Abrazari guards in a fashion where you are striking, moving into a strike, moving through a strike, or something like that, because it is the same thing as about covering in. Even the first cover of the dagger play, it's not just coming across. even that shot right there, you are striking the inside of the hands. I know that there's a lot of martial arts channels out there that'll say, yep, this right here is not going to defend anything. I disagree. Again, the inside part of the arm is very vulnerable to very hard surface strikes. It makes the grip very hard here. If you hit on the wrist area, you can break a thumb, you can hurt a thumb, you can sprain a thumb. There's a lot of things you can do here. So the cover itself is a strike, essentially. And that's kind of how I see that. So again, just sharing my thoughts as far as how that goes there. But that's going to conclude it for this video right here. And again, I hope you found this enjoyable and informative out there. If you've liked this, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a comment below as far as anything else that you've been having or seeing within this or within your practice if you have questions and whatnot. And with that being the case here, until next time, everybody, as always, stay safe, train well, and fight on.